But I think one of our biggest takeaways here is that it really still is about the face-to-face networking. And I saw some interest in talking about the conventions. So let's just go ahead and talk about the conventions. Which ones are good to attend, what we do when we're there, what to expect, how to be prepared, so on and so forth. And anyone can really start with this question.
I don't know which one's the best, but you know, there's big ones, there's small ones. Big ones are good because you can see all the big stuff happening. You can really get your finger on the pulse of what's going on. You know, a lot of people complain about San Diego Comic-Con, but I love to go. It's huge and crazy. You know, smaller shows are good because, yeah, you can get that face-to-face, one-on-one access with some people that might have huge lines at the bigger shows, you know. I mean, Mike Mignola, you mentioned, is always so popular at the shows. There was this tiny Long Beach show over where I live in Southern California, and it was like a room this size where they just had a handful of people, and Mike Mignola was there, and there was just like one or two people at his table at a time. So you can get that experience sometimes at smaller shows. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as like, I guess I spent like some years going to every show and talking to every editor, and I don't know which one's the best one, but it's just whatever show has editors that are willing to talk to you, it works. You know, something like the American Library Association show is a good show. You know, that's like there's a good contingent of comics representation there. I know Image does that show sometimes. You know, some of those Dark Horse and people like that, and those are kind of less busy shows. You can talk to people there. You know, just depends on who's there. Sometimes the smaller shows, they only have PR people available, so you can't really talk to editors. So, but I know like MegaCon is local. What's your experience with MegaCon, everybody?
There are no editors at MegaCon.
Okay.
And it's a big show. So you mentioned the personality. So I'll give you an example. I'm a proponent of the smaller shows. If you want to meet people, go to the smaller shows if you can, for the very reason that you stay. For instance, if you go to MegaCon and you want to see George Perez, for instance, George Perez has actually, you have to take a number to see him. His line is so long to get to see him at MegaCon. However, Barry and I did a show in Claremont, and you know, now it was a basketball gym or something like that. It was a sizable room, but you could walk up and there was maybe one or two people in line to see George Perez. So it was a whole lot easier to actually get to see someone like that at a smaller show. And it's really just because it's a smaller show. There's not as many people go. It's not as crazy. It's not as wild and hectic. And I think that's where you're going to have a greater opportunity for a conversation. For a memorable conversation. I think you can go to San Diego, you can go to MegaCon, and you can meet these people, absolutely. But I think if you want a memorable meeting, a memorable conversation, try to find a smaller show to go to.
Yep.
Yeah, if your goal is to meet an editor or meet publishers, at a con, that's a real crapshoot. You know, they're probably not going to remember you. But if that is what you want to do, then they don't do nearly as many shows as they used to. So you're going to have to go where they go. You're going to have to go to San Diego. You're going to have to go to New York, or Seattle or Portland, because Dark Horse and a lot of similar size publishers are going to be at those shows because that's their hometown area. But
I went to so many shows. I met everybody so many times. They got to remembering me. So that's something you might want to consider. Going to a lot of shows and going up and checking in with, this particular editor, this particular publisher every time. So they'll get to remember you. Yeah. And if they say, hey, this is pretty cool, when you give them your pages, next time you see them, hey, I'm Daniel. I wrote so and so. Oh yeah, So familiarity and FaceTime is.
Be prepared to give them a gift of your comic. That's what anytime you're going to meet somebody, be prepared to say, hey, look, here's my comic. I hope you enjoy it. Right. Don't say, here's my comic, hire me to work for you. You just say, here's my comic. I hope you enjoy it. It's what I've been working on.
Wait, but never give it to them. Like if they say, the editor's not here, but they'll be back real soon. Want me to take that for you?
No.
You might as well be throwing it in the trash can.
Yeah, it gets tossed in a pile.
Yeah.
Ignore the assistant. My takeaway.
Yeah.